Hi, I'm Fran Drescher, and all of us at Cancer Schmancer are so excited to bring you our Health and Wellness Masterclass, absolutely free. Do you ever wonder why you get sick? What causes cancer, and how you can reduce you and your family's risk? Well, we've put a lot of time, energy, and passion into bringing you the most cutting-edge information from amazing doctors who think outside of the box, leaders in health and wellness with a fresh perspective on what we can do for ourselves, options to consider when diagnosed, and new strategies to not only survive, but thrive. I have made improving our health my life's mission because I am a cancer survivor. But it took me 2 years and 8 doctors to get a proper diagnosis. Thank goodness I had a slow-growing cancer, or my outcome might not have been so good. Now I have turned my pain into purpose, so I'm committed to sharing everything I've learned with you, all the brilliant doctors and scientists I have met over my nearly 2 decades of survival. That's why I'm bringing you this master class, so you won't have to go through what I did. Watching this free health and wellness masterclass, I hope you will feel more empowered and less helpless, and walk away with a game plan. With 1 in 2 men and 1 in 3 women expected to get cancer, babies being born pre-polluted with 200 to 300 chemicals found in the umbilical cord, and kids predicted to not live as long as their parents for the first time in U.S. history, the time is now to take control of your body. I'm thrilled you're here, and I know it will make a difference. Now grab a pen and notepad, because we're about to blow your mind. Thank you so much for being a part of our journey of wellness. We have an interesting panel now because all the people that are going to be speaking on this next panel have been touched by cancer and have chosen an alternative lifestyle to help them recover or to prevent. And this is what we're talking about all the time. I learned this the hard way, and that's why we're sharing all of this information with you, because we are what we eat, and the Cancer Schmancer, very progressive, Detox Your Home program teaches you all that. You can go to cancerschmancer.org and learn how to do it. But the in, on, and around you, what are you putting in your mouth, all the food you eat? What are you putting on your skin? All your personal care items, including oral hygiene. What are you cleaning and gardening with? We start with that. Every time we replace something, we try and find something with ingredients that may have grown in your grandma's garden. Slowly but surely, we transform to a place where we're not compromising our immune system with mindless purchasing. We are what we eat, we are how we live, and over 90% of cancer is environmentally stimulated. And if you happen to have a gene that makes you frail to a certain thing, all the more reason, because science has taught us that genes can be turned on and off with lifestyle and nutrigenetics and genomics. So let me first invite to our panel someone that you will undoubtedly recognize from television. She's an award-winning entertainment journalist, and she was the co-host of Dancing with the Stars. And I said to my mom, do you remember? Of course, beautiful girl. She had to leave because she got sick. My mom knows everything. If I'm not sure about something that's happening in pop culture, she's the one to call. So this gal had to, stop everything because she was diagnosed with breast cancer, and it has completely changed her life for both herself, her children, her home, everything. So please give a warm welcome to Samantha Harris. I can sit on the end here. Thank you. Thank you.
Where would you like me?
You can
All right.
sit here if you want.
Hi, everybody.
Okay, and then next on our panel is Rachel Beller. Now, Rachel Beller is a nutritionist. Some people may have known her because she practices here. But what I find interesting about her is that she has totally embraced this, detoxified lifestyle. It's what she recommends to all of her patients. And she has 10 tips on how to reduce your risk of breast cancer through nutrition. And of course, everybody can benefit from understanding how what we eat and what we use on a daily basis is going to impact our health for better or for worse. So, our homes are the most toxic place we spend the most time in, and ironically have the most control over. More toxic than living across the street from an oil refinery. And the good news is we can stop that, turn it around, and start, increasing our immune system to work at an optimum and reduce our risk of cancer as well as a whole host of other diseases, because we all know that cancer is the end stage of inflammation. So what's causing inflammation, and what are you getting numbed down to and dumbed down to that you're not really thinking about because you're so busy taking some kind of a pill that's suppressing the symptom, but not asking yourself, why am I having this reaction? What is the causation? And how can I eliminate it? So that's all the things we're going to discuss now. Let's give a warm welcome to nutritionist Rachel Beller. And you can sit over there, right there, and I'll sit here. And now, last on our panel, I received an award from the American Cancer Society. And everybody, that was speaking about health and medicine and things like that. But then when I got up to get my award, I started talking about what you are doing to stay well. What are you buying? What are you eating? And ironically, there were plastic water bottles and Diet Cola and all this stuff at this cancer event, which you will not see here because we walk the talk. So you see glass bottles and organic food all day long. So when I got off the stage, one of my favorite actors in the world, and I'm not BSing you, stood up right away and said, I'm so grateful that you talked about that because nobody else was bringing up the obvious. What can we do? What is the causation and how can we eliminate it? And I said to him, because he's been profoundly touched by cancer in his life, please come and share what you've learned, what you know, and how you've changed as a result of. So please give a warm welcome to my friend and wonderful actor, Matthew Modine. Okay, so I think that, why don't we start with you? Share your story a little bit, and then maybe together we can talk to the rest and get to the bottom of this. These people are, really what we need to aspire to be more like.
Yes, indeed. Well, thank you, first of all, Fran, for having me here. What a wonderful room to be a part of. You are all, just by being here, one step in the right direction towards better health and longevity. For me, a little bit about my cancer story. I was about to turn 40, and I thought I should get a jump on that mammogram thing. I had 2 little girls who were 3 and 6. My grandmother at the time was 93 and a 30-some-year cancer survivor of breast cancer. My dad died at age 50 of colon cancer. So to me, this was important. Mind you, I was more fit and healthier than I had ever been, so when the mammogram results, and I will note it was a 2D mammogram, not a 3D, when the results came back, they were clear, which is what I had assumed they would be. But 11 days later, while I was changing, I found a lump in my breast. And I knew that that had not been there before. I immediately called my longtime OBGYN, who said, her scheduler said, come on, let's get you in here. She did a quick clinical exam, said, I think it's glandular. You're gonna be 40, this is what happens, lay off the caffeine. Okay, mind you, I only had dark chocolate raisins every day, so laying off the caffeine was not really the issue. Plus, it was my only vice, and that wasn't that bad of a vice. So a month later, the lump was still there, and I thought, okay, there's a nagging in my gut saying, go get a second opinion. So I did. This time I went to see my internist. I don't know why. Probably because I didn't think it was cancer. So I went to see him. He did a clinical exam. Same thing. I'm not worried about it. If you are, we'll just keep an eye on it. So, sent me on my way. Now it's busy, it's Christmas time and New Year's and the holidays. All of a sudden, before I know it, it's February. 4 months had passed. That lump was still there. And I said, you know what, this is it. If I'm gonna live with this lump that's nothing, I need to make sure it is truly nothing. So I finally went to a surgical oncologist who did 2 ultrasounds, a needle biopsy, and eventually actually an MRI. And actually she said, first of all, you're not crazy, there is a lump, but none of these tests detect cancer. However, the pathology from the needle biopsy said that there are cells multiplying, it's not cancer, good news, bad news. Good news is it's not cancer, bad news is I don't know what it is, let's take it out. So I had a lumpectomy and came out of that. Frozen section said, still not cancer, great. Went to a week later to get my final pathology results, told my always supportive husband, don't worry about coming with me, you stay home, or the golf course. I'll be fine. It's not cancer.
Which, by the way, is the most toxic place on the planet, a golf course.
Thanks. Don't tell me that. He spends a lot of time there. Okay, we'll talk later.
Oh, you do too?
No, he does.
Oh,
I need him safe. We'll talk about that later. So there I was sitting by myself, getting the results that I actually had invasive ductal carcinoma. It actually had spread outside of the duct, and there was a little bit of invasive cancer as well. So I called him. I didn't give him what the news was. I just said, meet me, somewhere away from home where the girls, I don't have to face the girls. He got a couple more putts in.
Oh my
then
God,
he met me.
married to him?
But then he never missed another appointment because he didn't know it was cancer at the time. So I give him that. I kid because it's so important to have some levity when you have these situations where there's nothing you can control, and you have to have positivity because these are scary situations. So the bottom line to my story really is you have to know your body. I exercise regularly. I thought I ate healthfully then. I eat even better now. Thank you, Rachel Beller. Thank you, Rachel Beller. Those things are so essential. But I think because I exercise regularly, because I ate healthfully, that's how I was able to notice a change in my body. I'm lucky that the lump was on the front outside sort of area and not deep underneath the tissue, because then I would maybe not have seen it. But there was really no missing this lump. So I urge you to be your own best healthcare advocate. You know your bodies better than any doctor ever can. And if they're telling you it's nothing, well, make sure it really is. And they know that as a fact, not just their hunch.
Yeah, because, doctors are very busy people, and, when they call and tell you you have cancer, at the end of the day, they go home and eat dinner with their family, and you go home and eat your heart out with yours. So it's your life. Pay most attention to it and make sure, and again, it's listening to your heart. I think you felt like something wasn't right. I was 40 also when I started my odyssey of 8 doctors and being told, well, it's at this age, you're perimenopausal. My blood test didn't show cancer. I had classic uterine cancer symptoms, but the ultrasound didn't show that any lump. And, 2 years later, I was on 4 different hormone replacement therapies, and the last one, because it had estrogen in it, I started bleeding 24/7 because estrogen is like poison to someone with uterine cancer. And I called the doctor, and she said, well, go off it, and we'll do an endometrial biopsy, which doctor number 1 thought I was too young for. And I thought, well, I guess if I'm too young, I'm too young. But actually, I wasn't too young, and 1 out of 4 women are young and thin and get uterine cancer. So, if I knew then what I know now, I would have, maybe gotten it that much sooner. Hi, isn't this great? I'm enjoying it, and I can't wait to go back and watch more. But I just wanted to take a moment to tell you that you can purchase all of these wonderful speakers as a downloadable purchase that, by the way, is a tax-deductible donation to Cancer Schmancer. You can have all these wonderful speakers at your fingertips whenever you want for reference, or share it with your friends and family. So if you click below, you can make a downloadable purchase, tax deductible for Cancer Schmancer donation, and enjoy it whenever you want. Thank you so much for subscribing, and now let's get back to more wonderful illuminating speakers. Let's turn to you a moment, and then we'll tie the whole thing up with you. But tell us a little bit about your story and how you've been touched by cancer.
Thank you, Fran. Well, pancreatic cancer. The first time that I'd ever heard that word, pancreatic cancer, or those 2 words, was when my father was diagnosed and died very shortly afterward. So just by chance, I live in New York City, and at Madison Square Garden, they had a group of people that were starting a pancreatic cancer foundation, the Lustgarten Pancreatic Cancer Foundation, and they invited me to become a part of their board. And it was interesting listening to the discussions that would happen, because it was always about treatment. It was never about diagnosis and why do people get pancreatic cancer? And that was someplace that I felt that with all the money that we were raising, it would be good to try to understand why people get pancreatic cancer. We didn't want to make the mistakes that the tobacco industry had made, with treating lung cancer by doing lung replacements. Let's find out that cigarettes cause cancer and contribute to emphysema and a whole basket full of different kinds of cancers. But it was very hard for me to get them to steer toward early diagnosis. They wanted to spend all the money on treatment. So that sent me off on my own. And then my brother died of pancreatic cancer. And then I found out, because one of the board members of the Lustgarten Foundation is Jimmy Carter. And pancreatic cancer is one of those rare cancers that is genetic. It can be passed down through families. I think Jimmy's got 4 or 5 family members that have died of pancreatic cancer. And if you've never read a letter that, well, he addressed the nation, I think it was in 77 or 78 when we were suffering through the gas crisis, that he said it's good. Some people call the letter the moral equivalent of war speech. And he said in that speech that we've moved from a nation that values ourselves on who we are to what we have. And that kind of materialism began to seep into our society and change the way that we behaved. And another wonderful book that you can read is 4 Arguments Against Television by Jerry Mander. And in that book and in Jimmy Carter's speech, he talks about this kind of rampant materialism. That as Russell had said, that we value ourselves when we watch these television commercials that make us feel bad about what we don't have, or that our lives are not perfect unless we purchase these things. We won't be beautiful unless we, look a certain way. And it's all horseshit. We all know that. I mean, when you watch a television commercial, when you watch your next car commercial, look at the person that's driving the car. Generally, they don't show you who's driving the car. Generally, the car is driving on a beach or on a mountainside, which you would never do, which would never be allowed, or the car's racing through the streets, which you'd get tickets for driving like a knucklehead. So it's a lie, and we've been being sold this big lie. And so this led me toward trying to understand and investigate through my own means Why do people get cancer? And is it environmental? Right now, I just drove here from Venice. It's less than 20 miles. It took almost an hour and 45 minutes to drive here. There's 4.5 million cars on the road in Los Angeles. If you times that by 4 and you consider that each of the cars that are driving is on 4 tires, we never think about where the tires go. But the tires are ground up into a kind of dust, and those tires are made out of oil, and there's a plethora of toxic chemicals that are in those tires. When we pull the windshield wiper and wash our windshields, if you look at the bottle before you pour it into the car, it says that it causes blindness. That runs off the side of the car down into the gutters. And so all of these things that Fran had pointed out, how toxic our homes are, we're surrounded by toxicity. I'm working on a documentary about our oceans right now, and I just spoke with Sylvia Earle, who's one of the preeminent oceanographers and marine biologists in the world, and we're talking about how much cancer we're starting to find in the oceans, in fish, and in sea lions, and in all sorts of mammals that are getting the same kind of cancers that we're getting here, that we humans are getting. There's a wonderful letter I encourage you to read also by Chief Seattle. He said in 1746 that the President Taft says he wants to purchase our Indian land. And he said, how do we do that? How do you purchase something that belongs to all of us? Remember that the air that was my father's first breath also receives his last sigh. And remember that the world, that life on the planet is like a giant spider's web. And what you do to a single strand, you do to the entire web. So the things that are happening around us that we have the potential to change through our purchasing habits, we can change and reduce the toxicity that exists in the world that we share. One of the most toxic places in California right now is where those houses burn down, that they don't even know how to go in because of all the toxic chemicals that were in those houses. So you can imagine what Houston is like with all the water, or Florida or Puerto Rico. So we can change things through our purchasing habits. And as Fran pointed out, that all disease comes from inflammation. And that it comes from carbohydrates and from sugars. And when you think of, like, in our brain, I just for myself, I did it a couple months ago. I said, I'm not going to have any sugar or carbohydrates. And it was like if I had my fingers in my ears for several years and then suddenly took my fingers out and I went, oh my God, I can hear birds singing. That my brain was like a completely different thing. So if you think of inflammation and those beautiful little neurons and the little veins inside of our brains, just the slightest bit of pressure of inflammation inside your brain from sugar and simple carbohydrates that turn to sugar. And that's all sugars, honey, maple syrup, any kind of sugar. Your body doesn't know the difference. Sugar is sugar. And that if that is the one thing that cancer eats is sugar, there's something that you can do to empower yourself to make a change in your lifestyle right now that will have a dramatic impact on your lives just by reducing those simple carbohydrates and sugars and alcohol.
I like that you say the word reduce, because I think that it's the propensity, the overload. They say that even, the gut is brain, and that the dementia and Alzheimer's that a lot of people are suffering from, they call the diabetes of the brain, because the amount of sugar that people take in with the food that they are eating and the corn syrup sweeteners that's so pervasive in everything is clogging the brain, and it can't process it. And usually with a change of diet, you can actually reverse this. There's also a connection with, because the pancreas helps in making insulin. So another thing is people that are like really hooked on diet stuff, which has a lot of chemicals in that, tricks the body into thinking it's having sugar anyway. And they usually end up with diabetes, ironically, because the body is releasing more insulin than it needs because it thinks that it's eating sweet. So at the end of the day, less is more, and keep it real and whole. I'm so glad that we're watching the Fran Drescher Masterclass Health Summit together. Thank you so much for subscribing. Isn't it great? I can't wait to go back and watch more. But I just wanted to tell you that on October 23rd, we are going to be doing the Fran Drescher Masterclass Health Summit 2018, and it's going to be more exciting and better than ever. You can click below or go to cancerschmancer.org and get your tickets or watch us live streaming for free on October 23rd. But if you come in person, you'll get to meet me and some of these wonderful doctors that I promise you will rock your world. Okay, so now let's go to Rachel, because she's going to pull it all together in a very coherent, presentation of what we can do in terms of particularly eating, I guess, nutrition, to help ourselves stay healthy.
Yes, thank you. My father also had pancreatic cancer, and that was my moment to turn things and to really understand where all this is coming from, and turning my pain into something that I could be proactive about, and really understanding. I mean, we were looking for any kind of solution or any kind of support even. Forget solution for a second, even support as to how to help my father manage while he was alive. And I was astounded at the lack of information and support that was out there. And that's really what triggered in me this passion to educate and to learn and to support families, and then to understand deeper about how to look into how to prevent the disease to begin with. Looking inside and saying, how do we add more good into our life to prevent? And patients always come into my office and say, what shouldn't I eat? I say, why don't we talk about what you should be eating? And slowly, all these things are going to start disappearing in your life, because something else is going to taste so much better. And that's going to be the wholesomeness. That's going to be the foods that are closest to the ground, that are not manufactured and foreign invaders that our body just doesn't know what to do with. And that's some of the things that, Fran, you were mentioning about, the toxic chemicals, but this all comes from also what we choose to put in our body. So that's my mission, which is to change the way people everywhere think about what they choose to nourish themselves with.
What are your 10 commandments?
I'd probably be here for an hour, but I can give you my top 3 faves, I guess. One of them is to drink up, and all my patients start, and all my, I actually just launched the first ever online weight loss breast cancer prevention program, and we tailored it to people who are willing to go vegan or pesco-vegetarian, and deep into what kind of fish should you be eating, what is low in mercury and high in omega-3, how to wean out, and omnivore as well, how to limit grass-fed meat and how much to have. So it's really custom to all of that. But one of my commandments, and what most of my patients start up with, is their day as the AM riser. Take any nutritional opportunity, the water on the table. You can infuse it with goodness, anti-inflammatory properties. So my patients take a big pot, and they put in slices of fresh turmeric, slices of fresh ginger, a little bit of, you could put mint in there, or parsley if you're feeling a little bloated. Parsley is loaded with, detox capabilities, and you just simmer it for 20 minutes, drink it throughout the day. I put them in mason jars. It lasts for 3 days. You're taking advantage and drinking up a nutritional opportunity to upgrade.
Don't boil it.
Oh, you simmer it. I'm sorry. Someone from my office is like, you're not boiling it. It's got to be kind of warm. You're just trying to release some of the anti-inflammatory properties. You're releasing them from the fibers. They're trapped in the fibers of the ginger root and the turmeric root. So you really want to just, a little bit of heat, low, will release it. And let it go over time, but don't kill it by boiling it. Yes, thank you, Matthew. So that's what you have throughout the day. And then in the PM, you put some fennel seeds in there, and that's your PM relaxer. It helps you de-bloat. So that's just one of the many tips. Fiber up. You've all heard about fiber, how that's your natural daily dose of detox. That's your internal cleaning crew. But 3% of Americans get the recommended amount of fiber. And that's even the lower end. My end is a little higher, 30, 35 for women.
What is fiber? Would it be vegetables?
Vegetables, fruits, whole grains, not things that have been processed or pulverized. I'm talking the whole thing where your body has to work to break it down so you're controlling the insulin levels. But eating 2, 3, even 4 spinach salads is not going to cut it.
Right.
You've got to have a game plan to make it happen. And that's where my job comes in, is how do we make this a reality? How do we make this easy in your life? So my easiest strategy, looking at diet histories in the research setting, is breakfast. If you can start your day with 10 grams of fiber from whole natural food, none of this manufactured stuff that they throw into those bars, that's going to help you get there, along with a good, healthy, balanced diet throughout the day. And, of course, adding fiber to your lunches and dinners. And people always say, well, I don't have time, Rachel. And okay, so I'm into translating research into action. So not to be embarrassed, I pulled a few things out of my purse because I'm always used to demoing stuff. So, for example, you could pick up organic sprouted lentils. It takes 5 minutes to cook. And the fact that it's been sprouted actually offers more nutrients and makes it easier for digestion, for you to absorb the nutrients. It's not like quick cook rice, it's the opposite. You can also take watermelon seeds. Anybody tried watermelon seeds like this? They're delicious. 1/3 of a cup, 13.5 grams of protein. So I've got patients who are actors or they're traveling on tour and they're vegan. They can fetch a salad anywhere, may not always be organic, but they just pull a little Ziploc bag with this and they've got their protein. We manage. What else do I have? Broad beans. 10 grams of protein, 14 grams of protein, 10 grams of fiber in half a cup. Easy, crunchy. They're like croutons. You can get them almost anywhere, any health food store. Easy. Oh, broad beans, like fava beans. They come in flavors. Those are coated with stuff, but the natural one. Yes, they're roasted. Roasting is not going to be as superior, but you're on the go. Vegan proteins.
I tell you a really good breakfast.
Yes, please.
Before I go to bed every night, I soak my nuts, and they're raw. But you take
I love that.
Almonds, pumpkin seeds, sunflower seeds, raw organic nuts. So you make about a half a cup. And then you fill it with water. In the morning, they've soaked up all that water. They've activated themselves. You pour that water off because that makes the nuts much more digestible. And put some chopped up strawberries or blackberries and some almond milk. And that breakfast carries me. I mean, it's like the best. I jump out of bed in the morning
let me
to eat
ask you
that
something.
breakfast.
Do you peel your almonds? Or do you use the skin?
I eat the skin, yeah.
Yeah, the skin. What, do you have an opinion about the skin?
I do, but then there's a sense of reality of how much we can
I know,
do,
I'm
but
there,
it's
like,
organic.
squirting every almond out of the skin.
As an educator, I have to have a sense of reality working with people. So, asking them to get it organic is the first step, and soaking it if it has the skin, that's fine in my book. And I use that as a snack. I soak the almonds. They taste like, if anybody likes coconut, like the meat, it's so filling and satisfying.
They're softer, but cashews, anything, if you can soak
Brazil nuts.
it breaks down the fats and makes it more bioavailable.
And it's delicious, and it's
because there's
easy.
a lot we need to know about absorbing the nutrition. You can be eating the best food, having the best, vitamins, but if you don't understand how it's bioavailable, how your body is going to be able to absorb it, then, you're going to have very expensive urine, basically.
Yes.
And
Yes,
that's what you have
vitaminosis,
to
I
think
call
about.
that.
I mean, people are like throwing turmeric into everything, but if you don't have turmeric mixed with black pepper and some kind of fat, your body's not going to absorb it. And it happens to be a great anti-inflammatory. But you can see if you look at even turmeric tea, most of it has black pepper in it.
A lot of it, I dare people to add a smidge of black pepper. And there's something that I've been researching that I'm actually writing about and just came out with my own unique blends on this, is spice synergy. Everyone thinks turmeric and black pepper. go beyond that point and add daily power with, cacao. Pure cacao has something called quercetin in it. That also acts like black pepper in helping your body absorb the curcumin, the good stuff from turmeric. Ceylon cinnamon, an upgrade. That's true cinnamon, friendlier to your liver. And there's a lot of spices, like I love cayenne and paprika. They both have capsaicin, which is good for weight loss, but it's also, they have a lot of powerful antioxidants that help with something called apoptosis, which is cancer cell death. Again, we need more research. This isn't 100%, but we have enough. My message is that we have enough information to date to say, this is a hell of a good idea.
And you know what? There's no downside, am I right?
No.
So err on the side of caution and try and follow the wisdom of ancient cultures and indigenous cultures, because, one of the things that you'll see all the time, like, for example, in Indian cultures, well, why do they use the spices that they use in the food? Well, that creates heat in the belly and will help you to to digest the food. And then why do they end every meal with yogurt? And
Fennel.
people don't really know this, but they know it, and that's to refortify the good microbiome in your gut with live cultures. So same with. Everybody's eating, even little children are eating sushi these days. Well, I didn't grow up eating sushi, thank God, because Westerners don't have a clue as to how to eat sushi and not putting themselves at risk for stomach cancer. But Japanese understand it, and that's why that, green thing, the horseradish, is not just decorative or to make your soy sauce taste better. It actually is what is creating fire in your belly to kill, some of that bacteria. And then also and then when you have the pickled ginger, that is going to, once again, replenish the gut with good bacteria. So whatever is on that raw fish won't hurt you if you understand how to eat sensibly and properly. I can't thank you guys enough. This has been really, and you are just so articulate and wonderful, but all of you ladies are just incredible. And thank you for turning your pain into purpose and lemons into lemonade. We both say the same thing. And we were just on a Jump, Jive, and Thrive for CBS, because we're jumping, we're jiving, and we're thriving. So thank you all very much. Thank you. And I hope if you want to stick around, you can hang out here or hang out in the exquisite Founders Room. But we welcome you to spend the day. And thank you. Thank you for all your wisdom. Thank you. Oh, wonderful, wonderful. God. Hi, it's me, your host, Fran Drescher. Thank you so much for watching. Wasn't that great? Now you have some tools to stay healthy and prevent disease, as well as fresh options to consider if, God forbid, you are sick. Cancer Schmancer's mission is to educate you and your loved ones on how to transform from patient into medical consumer. If you enjoyed this, if you learned something, if you want to know more, then please make sure you watch Fran Drescher's Health and Wellness Masterclass 2018, live streaming free on October 23rd at cancerschmancer.org. Please help us get this life-changing information out to as many people as possible, so together we can all move into a healthier world. Share this with your friends and family. It's 100% free, so there's no downside. Remember, each one teach one. Please visit cancerschmancer.org to learn about our life-saving programs like Fran Vans, offering low-income women free mammograms, and Be the Change program, targeting teens and tweens on staying healthy by checking labels, choosing safer products, and becoming the change the 21st century desperately needs. So happy that we had this time together and so grateful for your helping to spread the word so we can empower more people like yourself to crack the code on sickness. I love you. My prayers are for you to be well and have love and peace in your hearts.